4 years. In the life of a city as ancient and ever-changing as Beijing, it can feel like a blink or a lifetime. The global spotlight that blazed down on its Olympic ice has long since moved on. Yet, if you listen closely to the winters here now, you can hear a different kind of echo. It's in the crunch of a rented ice sled on a frozen lake, the rhythmic swish-swish of a speed skater's solitary laps before breakfast, the delighted, nervous shriek of a child finding their balance for the very first time, and the low, steady murmur of old friends catching up on a lifetime of winters. This is the story of what grows in the afterglow of a mega event. It's not merely about sports, but about soul, community, and identity. Over the next 25 minutes, we will trace from the generation-steep grooves worn into Shichahai's natural ice to the flawless, Olympic-grade surface of the ice cube to answer a fundamental question: what truly endures when the world's eyes look away? What have the 2022 Winter Olympics left in Beijing skating culture? Beijing's ice play tradition dates back to centuries ago. In the Qing dynasty, the royal court held the ice amusement ceremony each winter, an ancient version of the Winter Olympics. Events like the Aero-Swift speed racing, the breathtaking ice slope sliding showcased the remarkable skill and daring. Places like Shichahai and city moats became natural ice rinks. People would link ice sleds into moving banquets, singing joyfully as they glided across the ice. Locals even invented their own moves, such as Golden Rooster standing on one leg and the Phoenix spreading its wings, turning ice play into an art form. The passion of Beijingers for ice has never faded. It has become ingrained in the city's DNA. When the deep cold sweeps through North China every winter, it locks the surface solid. Shichahai ceases to be merely a scenic spot for photographers and becomes a communal living room, a dance floor, a free-form gymnasium. Here, skating transcends being a seasonal hobby and a marker of identity. For many, a winter without it is unimaginable. 65-year-old Zhang Xin is a native Beijinger. He lives in Hutong near Shichahai. Like many in the neighborhood, skating to him is one constant in a changing life.
I
was in middle school when I first skated here. We borrowed skates from older kids. They were so precious, they wouldn't let us scratch the blades. I lived near Qianhai, just a Hutong away, and back then, there was wild ice, no one charging money. I saved up every bit of pocket money, finally bought my first pair. I still have them. You take care of things differently when they are that hard-won.
That first hard-earned pair of skates was more than equipment. It was a passport. For Zhang, that moment ignited a ritual that would become as regular as the sunrise. The ice transformed from a playground into a non-negotiable appointment with himself and the elements.
Now it's my routine. The moment the ice opens, I'm here every morning at 8 a.m., like clocking in for a job I love. I would skate 30 laps first, but it's not a solo act. This is where my winter family gathers. I see the same friends here every single season. We're all in our 60s, 70s, some brave souls even over 80s. There's an unspoken understanding. If you can still lace up the skates and step into this ice, it's a certificate. It means you are healthy in body and sharp in mind. This ice is our annual health check.
When the 2022 Olympics arrived in Beijing, for traditionalists like Zhang, it wasn't an alien intrusion, but a powerful, validating echo. The world was celebrating what had been his private winter joy for decades. He noticed a tangible shift in the energy down at the lake. The global event sent a ripple through the local scene, attracting new faces and new motivations to the old ice.
After the Olympics, you could feel it. More young people for sure. Families, parents pushing prams with little kids, pointing at the ice. They want their children to learn now, maybe ice hockey, maybe figure skating. He planted an idea, and watching those races at the Beijing Winter Games, especially the team pursuits, it gets your blood pumping in a different way. It made our little hobby feel connected to something bigger.
Yet, alongside this renewed vitality comes a quiet, persistent anxiety shared by all whose traditions are tethered to the rhythm of the natural world. The very foundation of this centuries-old practice, a reliable long, bitter cold winter, is growing fragile.
When I was a boy, by late November, the ice was thick enough to walk on. It was solid for months. Now, we are lucky to get a few solid weeks. It doesn't get that deep, lasting cold anymore. We dream of 40 good days. This year, maybe we got 20. It makes you cherish every single session, because you don't know how many you'll get.
As alternatives in non-winter seasons, John would go to the indoor ice rinks to meet his skating addiction. The National Speed Skating Oval, the Olympic competition venue during Beijing 2022, is where he visits the most now.
Sometimes I go skating with them in the summer. I use short track skates. But later, since I often go to the speed skating oval, I bought a pair of long track skates as well. Many indoor ice rinks have been built. You know, only when there's a demand can there be a market. If you open a venue and no one comes to skate, you'll end up losing money, right?
According to data from the Beijing Municipal Sports Bureau, Beijing's ice venues have expanded significantly since the city's Winter Olympics bid, growing from 42 rinks to 82 by 2022, providing convenience for citizens to enjoy ice sports, including skating OGs like Zhang Xin. On the very same ice in Shichahai, the skating tradition expresses itself in a completely different dialect. For 78-year-old Li Da-Zhen, the blade is not a simple tool for transit, but a sculptor's chisel, a calligrapher's brush. His connection to skating is aesthetic and deeply romantic.
For me, figure skating is the best of all sports. It's art. It combines athletic power with the grace of dance or set music. That one perfect push and you soar. It's cultural. Look at the old photographs from Weiming Lake at Peking University. The scholars and students gliding there. It has a history of elegance in Beijing.
The deep passion made Li a natural ambassador when Beijing embarked on its Olympic bid. He became part of the grassroots tapestry of support, the living proof of a pre-existing ice culture ready to welcome the world. He performed in promotional events for the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics.
During the New Year transition after our Winter Olympics bid, one of the events was setting up an ice rink in front of the bird's nest. They organized a group of about 10 to 20 people. Some were professionals, while others, like me, were amateurs. We marched around, waving flags, while they performed choreographed routines on the ice. We all put in a lot of effort, and felt truly joyful promoting the games together.
The Olympic memory also made him a fan of watching figure skating competitions on TV.
I watched not just the Winter Olympics on TV, but also events like the World Championships and the Four Continents Championships. I watched them all. The skills on display are absolutely brilliant.
Weaving between these veterans with their decades of muscle memory are the tentative, excited movements of the new blood. These skating beginners are not drawn by family tradition or habit, but by a desire to physically connect with a piece of the city's living folklore. Liu Yifan and Luo Chen are college students in Beijing. To them, skating in Shichahai is a must-do in winter.
We're graduate students, only in Beijing for a couple of years. This trip was an event. We checked weather apps for a week, waiting for the perfect cold day. Yesterday, it wasn't cold enough. Today, we woke up at dawn, raced here on bikes. Shichahai is iconic on social media. Everyone posts these beautiful, fun videos. You have to experience it.
The vibe here is completely different from an indoor mall rink. It's alive. You see people of all ages. You can feel the history. It feels like touching the real old Beijing. Would I tell my friends to try? Absolutely, but with a warning. It's thrilling but humbling. I've already fallen once today, but that's part of the fun, right?
This natural, often chaotic transfer of enthusiasm from one generation to the next doesn't happen by accident. It's gently facilitated by guides who stand at the intersection. People like Coach Sun Dongxue, whose job is part instructor, part evangelist, and part cultural bridge.
Shichahai really represents the Beijing culture. I'm originally from the northeast, where ice is in our blood, but Shichahai, it has a different magic. Teaching here feels like being part of that story. It gives me a spark of pride. Since the Olympics, I've definitely seen more curious families and more kids that now want to try. But what really gets me is watching the older masters. They skate past my wobbly students. It's like a silent handoff. That student might stick with it, grow up here. That's real inheritance.
Every graceful arc carved on Shichahai's ice, every moment of confident balance, every controlled stop depends on the fundamental, invisible prerequisite, the perfect blade. In just a short walk from Shichahai, I found a craftsman and his almost forgotten skill in sharpening ice blades. For over 80 years in Beijing, the guardian of the blade has carried a title that sounds almost mythical, Bingdao Wang, the ice blade king. His craftsmanship represents the story of the city's love for skating. In a small unamusing hut nestled in the nearby Hutong, Wang Peizhi upholds a craft born from stark necessity and refined through years of precise discipline. His story is one of filial duty, obsessive perfectionism, and a race against the time.
The craft started with my father in the lean years of the 1940s. Shichahai then was for the wealthy. A pair of imported skates could cost the equivalent of gold. My father saw that even the rich needed their blades sharp. We set up a stone by the lake. His work fed us. A day's grinding might mean 2 pounds of cornmeal. But it wasn't just about food. He was a perfectionist. People came to trust his hands. They knew a blade from Bingdao Wang would last, would feel right. That trust became our family's currency.
Wang Peizhi is one of only few craftsmen in Beijing still sharpening ice blades by hand using a simple grinding machine. His apprenticeship was not a casual transfer of knowledge. It was a trial by fire, or rather, by darkness. His father's teaching method was brutal and poetic, designed to eliminate the very possibility of error. It was a lesson in profound, almost terrifying responsibility, where a single slip could mean a financial loss the family could not bear.
I remember when I was 13, 14 years old, my father woke me up one night, past midnight. He said, "You want to learn? Come." In the grinding shed, he turned off the single bare bulb, used the sparks from the wheel to see the blade, he said. I thought he was mad. He said, "If your hand slips in the light, you ruin a man's treasure. You cannot pay for it. You must learn to feel the truth of the edge, not just see it." I practiced like that for years, day and night, until the motion was in my bones. My father did this for 69 years. He never once made a mistake. I've done it for 50. That record, that trust is everything.
While we spoke, came Granny Liu Yanghe on her bike. She has been going to Master Wang to sharpen her ice skates for decades.
I've been skating here since I was a kid, and I know Master Wang for quite some time. Speaking of skating, sharpening your blades is just part of the deal, right? You have to do it regularly, and no one else is going to do it for you. You start by doing it yourself. After trying a few times and not getting it quite right, you end up going to a master for a precision sharpening. I usually just give mine a rough grind myself, leave the real work to professionals.
Master Wang's philosophy is the core of his resistance to the modern world. In an age of automation, Wang's value proposition is the opposite of machine-like uniformity. It is hyper-individualization. Wang Peizhi tunes an instrument to its specific player. His hands and eyes perform a diagnostic, reading the wear patterns on the steel like a doctor reads a chart, then prescribing a custom edge.
机器磨冰刀的话是90年代。
When the electric grinding machines arrived in the 90s, everyone was fascinated. Fast, shiny, consistent. Some thought our time was over. My father said, watch and learn. The machine only knows one setting. But a skate blade is not a kitchen knife. Every skater is different. Weight, posture, skill level, whether they lean inward or outward. My father's rule was 千刀千刃, 1,000 blades, 1,000 edges. I look at the person, I talk to them. I look at their old blades, then I grind for them. That's why they still come. They bring me blades from other cities, bent blades, blades others say are finished. They say find the ice blade king, he can fix it.
Wang says during the Winter Olympics in Beijing, he noticed new customers looking for his store.
During the Winter Olympics, with more people taking up skating, the number of customers needing blade sharpening grew a lot. After that, pretty much everyone in Beijing who knew about us came to our place to get their skates sharpened.
Yet, surrounding this master in his cluttered sanctuary, a de facto museum of skate design with century-old blades on the walls, is the palpable, chilling air. The ecosystem that sustained this craft for 80 years is disintegrating. The long, reliable ice seasons that created steady demand are shortening. The economics are brutal, soaring rents in Beijing against a seasonal customer base. He's a living archive facing the threat of being archived himself.
The world is warmer now. The ice on Shichahai opens later, closes earlier. My customer base shrinks every year. I have to be honest. Some years now, I don't cover the rent. I lose money to keep this door open. Why? Because if I close it, this skill, this specific knowledge vanishes. It's not just a job. It's a threat to my father, to all the customers who trusted us. Maybe it will make my son or someone's son feel the duty to continue. This isn't about making a living anymore. It's about keeping a light from going out. This craft, it is the most fragile and durable thing I know.
From the intimate, shadowy world of the blade grinder, where light comes from sparks, I stepped into the vast, luminous and meticulously engineered chill of the National Aquatic Center, reborn as the Ice Cube. Once the swimming and diving competition arena at Beijing 2008 Summer Olympic Games, the Ice Cube was converted into the curling venue during Beijing 2022 and left with a winter touch after that. This transformation is legacy in its most concrete, breathtaking form. A stage built for the world's finest athletes, now consciously and creatively repurposed as a playground for the public. It represents the promise of the Games made manifest, not just the 16 days of glory, but decades of community utility. Yang Wenting, manager of the venue's Ice Sports Center, is one of the stewards of this new chapter, tasked with translating Olympic magic into everyday access.
Our curling rink has been open to the public for hands-on experience since the 2022 Winter Olympics. All the equipment on the ice, the curling stones, foot grips, barriers, and every facility are indeed the same ones used during the Games. Every single curling stone here has been touched by an Olympic champion. And besides the facilities and equipment, all our staff, including myself, served or participated in the Winter Olympics. The spirit and legacy of the Games are truly embodied to the fullest in this very curling hall.
The crowds that flow through the ice cube tell a complex story of post-Olympic life. It's not a monolith of beginners. The data shows a fascinating mosaic. Children in colorful helmets on weekend training courses, teenagers on dates, corporate teams building camaraderie, and perhaps most meaningfully, a significant number of older, serious skaters. These are the seasoned veterans from places like Shichahai who now have a majestic, year-round home for their lifelong passion, free from the tyranny of weather.
我们冰立方自2022年8月份对
We track over 100,000 visits annually since the venue was opened to the public in August 2022. The diversity is key. Yes, youth training is huge, the Olympic generation of participants. But my heart is always moved by our older skaters. In 2023, we hosted a special event during the Mid-Autumn Festival for a veteran ice hockey team, men mostly in their 60s and 70s. To see them play with such joy and skill on Olympic ice, it connected the past and present in a powerful way. They come regularly now, buying annual passes.
We met a skater who embodies the full, beautiful circle of this story. Fan Wen-zhe represents the archetype who grew up on the rough and tumble, wind-swept wild ice of Shichahai, left the practice behind for the demands of career and family, and was drawn back to it, and to its modern successor, an Olympic venue that transcends the label of hobby.
My skates first touched ice right out there on Shichahai a lifetime ago. It was pure, simple fun. Then life happened. Career, family, distance. I stopped for decades. I returned to skating in my 50s. After a serious health wake-up call. After surgery, during recovery, I thought, what truly makes me feel alive? The answer was on the ice. Now, it's not a hobby. It's a core part of my wellness, my sanity. I prefer the controlled environment indoors now. No unpredictable wind, no dust ruining a fresh edge. But the feeling is the same. If I don't skate, I feel a part of me is missing.
With the seasoned perspective of someone who has seen the ice sports landscape across multiple eras, Fan observes the Olympic legacy not as a fleeting moment of excitement, but as a profound structural shift, effectively mending a generational gap in participation that had worried traditionalists for years.
It has become better these days. Look at the infrastructure explosion. New rinks popped up everywhere. Some have consolidated now, but the capacity is there. And the kids. Parents today have the means and the motivation. They saw the Olympics. They want their children to have that discipline, that grace. The Games broke the spell that skating was just an old man's pastime or an obscure professional sport. It made it mainstream, aspirational, family-friendly. It rebuilt a bridge between generations that had been slowly crumbling.
On this pristine Olympic-grade ice, we also found those for whom the Games were a direct personal catalyst. People like Jing. For her, the allure of the ice cube is the sheer quality of the ice, a consistent, flawless surface that is a luxury for any serious amateur working on technique.
This rink, first of all, has a very large ice surface, and the quality of the ice is excellent. Another advantage is the affordable pricing. Basically, a 20-session pass costs just over 1,000 yuan. For Beijing as a whole, that's quite a reasonable price.
The 2022 Olympics acted as a powerful accelerator for her journey. She transitioned from an admiring spectator, analyzing the performances of idols from past games, to an engaged participant.
Watching the Winter Olympics really deepens my interest, especially since I've always been drawn to figure skating. It was actually seeing those competitions that first inspired me to give it a try myself. There have been so many memorable events. I particularly enjoyed many of the programs at the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Olympics, where the skating was so smooth and expressive. I especially admire the pair skaters Sui Wenjing and Han Cong. This time at the Games, they came back to compete after originally retiring. True veterans returning to the ice, which made me follow their performances even more closely.
So what remains when the final analysis is written? The answer we find is not etched in bronze or stone, but in something more temporal and yet more renewable: ice. The Olympics left behind a vital ongoing dialogue. It is a conversation between two worlds: the organic, community-rooted, weather-dependent culture of Shichahai and the world-class, climate-controlled, accessible infrastructure of venues like the Ice Cube. One does not replace or invalidate the other. Instead, they exist in a symbiotic relationship. Most of all, the legacy reaffirmed a powerful, beautifully simple idea that ice in all its forms belongs to everyone. The Olympic flame, in its intense, transient blaze, illuminated this fundamental truth for all to see. And in its lasting afterglow, Beijing's winter culture is not a museum piece. It is a living, breathing entity being actively, joyfully, and collaboratively remade.